Oh, hello there, my loves. Oh, my goodness. Another week has already passed, and you're here once more listening to me talk a load of bollocks. But anyway, thank you if you have dropped in today. Today is going to be slightly more shambolic than usual in that I haven't prepared anything. In fact, I'd forgotten today that today's the only day I can record a video. So that's not good, is it? So all I've done is I've turfed out all of the new paintings I've done over the past 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, last month or so. And I'm going to show you them. I know normally I do some scans of them because these smaller ones I can put on my flatbed scanner and scan the fuckers. But as half of them are still wet, I'm not going to be able to do that, I don't think. So I'll just show you on the camera. I mean, this camera is shite, I know, but that's the best we're going to have to do today. Okay, right, let's have a little bit of coffee to steady my tits. And right, first of all, I'm going to show you a couple of shambolic paintings I did yesterday in a kind of fever dream. So my brother, Mark, the Blade, he's releasing a children's book sometime this year, and he wants me to do the front cover for it. If you're watching this, Mark, I'm having some difficulty. It's just that my mind's been completely on my other painting project. So I tried to do this one for my brother, and I started to break down. So yesterday, the central character of my brother's book is called Emily, a young girl. I drew that. At this point, I was quite low when I painted this, as you can probably tell. I just did it off the top of the dome, so to speak. No reference. I just drew that strange chap. This one's slightly better, but it's still shite. So there we are. The young girl. I just like the idea of her having big eyes for some reason. These are the elementary first steps of what will hopefully be a good cover, but at the moment I don't hold out much hope. Now, the background for this book, this front cover, I've got fairly well set in my brain, but the character itself is another order of magnitude greater than I appear to be able to deliver, because I normally work from references usually. So I think I need to find the right reference and then tailor it to what I want to do. But there we are. That's the first bit of shit out of the way. Apologies, Mark. It's going to get better, hopefully. Okay, the next one is one that I've repurposed. So this one I've already photographed, so I should be able to show you in slightly more detail, my loves. But this one here, it's a kind of space thing. So this is definitely influenced by all the books I've been reading over the last year or two, these vintage science fiction fairs. And so, yeah, we've got a couple of little ships flying over a great big space station, perhaps. We've got some stars up here. I'll put some scans up now and you can see where this came from. It was previously, the first incarnation was just an abstract painting I did that never sold, and understandably it was shite. So I decided to fuck around with it a little bit, and we ended up with that. There we are. I don't paint just to sell, but I mean, it's always a nice outcome if you can get a few pennies for your endeavours. Okay, next I'll show you some that I've reworked that I've shown in previous ones. So the first one, I don't even know if I've shown this one at all. It's just a little abstract one on one of these small canvases. Abstract beginnings, and then I thought maybe that's some kind of strange space station. I don't know what the hell it is, but there we are. It's got something about it. I like the yellows popping out and the kind of demonic light coming from those windows. I might be able to scan that one. If it is, it'll be over there, but probably won't be. The next one is another reworking of one that I showed on here. It's a kind of isometric affair. I've definitely got an image of that. That's what it looked like before. Now I've done all this on it. So I've made it pop a bit more with some dark and some light highlights. This is just a doodle. I had nothing in mind doing it. I was just lost myself pricking around with it, basically. If I can scan it, I will, and you'll see it a bit better than it is on my camera. Let's have a little break. The next one is another one I've reworked. I showed this one last time. This is one I did in one sitting. I had no plans for it whatsoever, just did it. It turned out to be two kind of things that could either be cloaked figures or penguins. So all I've done is I put some green in the background, and it makes it pop a little bit better against that red. Included some highlights as well on these kind of ridged walls, or whatever the hell they are. At this point, I'm thinking of churning, putting some painting, turning ones that were previously perhaps inadequate and envisaging them existing in my new project. So my new project, if you haven't already heard, is I've set myself the gargantuan task of painting 100 paintings in the coming year or so. So far, I think I've done about 15, 16, something like that, in the idea of putting them into a book. And it will be like a kind of puzzle book, like a choose your own adventure, but there'll only be one path through it. So you'll have to solve little riddles perhaps, or work out little number puzzles, if you will. And so the premise of it, the way I've imagined it, is that at the beginning of the book, you're perhaps it's an old house and there's this locked room, and you open it up, and on one wall is 100 paintings, or actually there's 99 of them. One of them's missing. You've got to find it. And so each painting you look at one and you kind of immerse yourself in it. The way it's written will be that the painting, you're in the painting, so to speak. And so each painting will have a riddle, and it'll guide you to a number. So the number will be the sequential order of all the paintings. So you've got to find your way through it non-linearly, in that you're not reading the book left to right. You're doing it all over the fucking place. That's the idea. I mean, whether I bring this to fruition or not is another matter, because I have these grand ideas and then I tend to run out of steam, or something else glitters and takes my attention elsewhere. But so far, so good. I've been popping out these paintings. Let's show you another one. So the next one's actually, well, the ones I'll show you in a moment will all be in this book. But this one I'm going to show you now, it may trigger off some kind of censor or censorship from YouTube, but it's art, you bastards. So yeah, we've got a close-up study of a female genitalia, shall we say. So yeah, I painted this in one, I did a brief outline in watered down paint, and then once it had dried, I just painted over the top of it. So yeah, no copying, or I had a reference, but I was just eyeballing it. So I was quite happy with that, considering, yeah, I've moved away from transposing images, which I did occasionally. Now that's a topic for debate, I would say, because I think there's this idea, or that say tracing an image to transfer it onto canvas is cheating. I don't know where I sit on that. I personally don't think it's cheating, because if you take, for example, like some of the old masters like Caravaggio, they used like pinhole camera technology to project in a very crude way sketches, or even people silhouettes, so they could draw around them for the correct proportions. That's what I tend to use it for, is proportions more than anything, because once you've got those outlines on the canvas, as soon as you've put the first layer of paint down, all of those lines are usually gone. So you're having to use your eye anyway, but the main structure is in place. Now there's various other ways that you can go about doing this. So using grid methods, for example, or people use modern day projectors. I dallied with that a little bit years ago, but it was a pain in the ass. Or using graphite or whatever. Yeah, carbon paper, various methods. Or you can just draw the bugger. Now, the thing is, this is my new philosophy, in that I think it's more interesting to paint or to work from sketches that you do directly on the canvas there and then, no help whatsoever. You can glance at references perhaps, but just doing it. And in so doing, the image, the instigating image, the reference image, is mediated through your inadequacies potentially as an artist, or just your human fallibilities. And so in so doing, the image becomes slightly more interesting. It's mediated by humanity or human, what do you call it, constraints. So yeah, that's my new way of working, which will be used in all of my little paintings from now on. Anyway, let's carry on. Oh, fucking hell. This is going to be a ramble fest, and I didn't even plan this one. What are we on? Okay, 10 minutes. Fucking flying here now. Fucking hate flies. They're not good for anything, are they? They don't even pollinate. Okay, let's tear another bugger out. So the rest of the ones I'll show you now are for the book, perspective book. And I'll show you in the order that I painted them. So the first one is this one. And so I'll probably be able to scan this because I think it's dry now. But I've had this idea in my head for a very long time now, this great big tree enclosed in a wall. I don't know quite where that's from. There's a couple of memories that I've had. For example, there's an area in the city of Wells that has this kind of forest that has walls around it. Perhaps it's that, or perhaps it was a dream. But in this incarnation, it's kind of like a desert, but this one tree has been kind of reserved or protected by this brick wall. And there's a little enticing doorway there, which will lead you on to the next page, potentially. I don't know how, but there we are. That tree took me fucking ages. I didn't use any reference for that whatsoever, so that's why it took so long. I was trying to work out where the light was coming from and all of that shite. The next one I did was this one. So I'll put this up first. This was the instigating sketch. I just did it. This started as a tiny little doodle I did in my sketchbook or in my journal, and then it became this. So a kind of little path that meanders out into the ocean, and in the background there's this great big black sun, like a black star. I thought that was quite interesting. But yeah, and this little, I don't know what that is on the end of it, some kind of structure that I may end up painting something else for. So that's another thing I like about working this way, is that I'm not planning, at this stage at least, I'm not thinking of the book in terms of what the story might be. I'm just doing whatever the hell I like, whatever comes to me. If I think it's interesting or it'll be interesting to paint, I'm going to paint the bastard. So I think I'll get to around 70 or 80 paintings deep, and then I'll spend the final 20% trying to stitch it together slightly, perhaps. But I may not even do that. It might be more interesting just to, see where it goes. Okay, the next one is definitely wet, because I only finished this the other day. So I've taken loads of images of the progression of this one. So this was an idea I had just floating around about having a well. So I love the idea of wells, not the city of Wells, but a well, the one you fish water out of or push witches down into. So yeah, this is what I came up with. I probably won't be able to scan this. And yes, I've put a naked young lady in the foreground. I can't help myself. It just happens. So yeah, it's probably that's the problem. A lot of the images in this will be of naked women. So I will probably be forced to put a few cocks in there. In the paintings, or some male torsos, a bit of male flesh, perhaps, just to even out the balance. But there we are. I just paint what I want. So this is a little hillside, or little hillock with a well on it. No reference at all for this, other than the young lady there, which I used reference, but again just eyeballed it and drew it. Proportions aren't too bad considering, but it's not quite right on the back. But luckily the head and shoulders are out of the frame, and that would have been the hardest bit to do. Got some fields in the background. There's a slight confliction between the greens of that hillock and the greens behind. I tried to make those more yellow. In fact, they are, but it doesn't really show very well on this camera. And in the background, some shadowy forms of more pyramids that have become a motif that I've been running with. I don't know where they came from, but yeah. Pyramids will feature heavily in this book, apparently. Okay, the last one is also wet, so I've got to be careful here. Okay, so prepare yourselves for a bit more naked flesh. So this one, again, yes, I used a bit of reference for this torso, and again, just eyeballed it. So it's not too bad. The proportions are relatively okay. And in the background, we've got another one of those pyramids and some kind of orb, like a moon perhaps, or a planet floating in the background. But I thought it might be nice as a kind of de facto head. There's a missing head there. And there's a scoop that's been taken out of this young woman, who isn't actually a woman, I don't think. It's some kind of robot perhaps, or some other kind of entity. But when I initially sketched it, I thought it was interesting to have something there in place of her head. And of course, it also makes it a lot easier to paint when you're just doing a ball rather than someone's face. Faces are the devil's work. They're so hard to do. Well, I find them hard anyway. It's the true test of an artist. And I usually fail at it. That's one of the reasons why I've become so disconsolate. Is that a word? Disconsolate? Depressed? About trying to work out a character for my brother's book, because it really it separates the men from the boys, if you will, in terms of that side of things. But there we are. We'll keep plugging on. We'll keep trying. That's all we can do. Push on. I'll show you a couple of other things in a minute, but I just thought this would be a slightly more relaxed thing where I'm just chatting a bit, because I don't do that enough, do I? Yeah, I'm not going to go into any detail because I can't, but my work of late has become very, very difficult. And so I'm counting down the days until the end of the term and the summer, where I hopefully will be able to re-energize myself. But yeah, it's not doing me any good mentally. So that's going to be resolved in 2 weeks or so. Yeah, let's hope. Well, it will, yeah, because I've already, I've made a pact with myself. That's the end. What else? I've got some abstract pieces I'm going to show you in a bit, but they're all very wet. In fact, I've got little bastard flies that keep sticking to them and dying, of course. But, what can I do about that? I can't really stop them doing it. So I've had this before. When you get the painting out of the drying rack, you'll have various little carcasses stuck to it and you've got to pick them off. But yeah, as I said previously, flies are bastards and they deserve to die. Oh dear. I'm a vegetarian, well, more or less vegetarian, but yeah, cruelty to flies, filthy flies. Well, I wouldn't be cruel to them, but yeah, they do deserve to perish. What else? I'll tell you, I am terrible. I like to go. I don't. Everyone probably does this, but when they're kind of bored, or not necessarily even bored, but you've got a bit of time to yourself, you start looking at whatever, Instagram or Facebook or all that shite, looking for some kind of something. Something to tweak your nipple slightly, to distract you from the mundane. And almost always it's a futile endeavour. If you tiptoe onto Twitter, it's even worse. The shit on there. I really have to stop going on there. But today, one of the things that was trending was World War III. And I clicked on it stupidly, and there's just loads of doom and gloom about potential Third World War, and other people saying that we're already in it, which yeah, I can quite readily believe that, but yeah, to someone like me, a sensitive soul, it's not good. So I'm trying to be upbeat about things. Yeah, I just need to stop looking at this shit. But if you're like me, don't worry about it. If we are all going to get nuked, then fuck all we can do about it. Happy weekend, everyone. I know, hopefully it's not going to come to that. And saner minds will come to the fore. I'm probably already exaggerating what's potentially... It may not be as bad a situation as it is, but the world's going to hell in a handbasket, isn't it? A handcart or whatever. Anyway, this will brighten you up. This will brighten your day after talking about that shite. This is just an abstract background. So this won't be a painting in its own right, unless one of you want it. It will function as a background or the first stage of what will be another painting. I'm thinking, I like the idea of doing like isometric shapes and then using this color as their skin, so to speak, and then make that object pop out using just dark light and shade. Incidentally, this is another deviation from my project with the smaller canvases, just because I've got about 6 of these large ones to get out of the way, basically. So for a couple of days last week, I feverishly just painted these. Now, these look very easy to do, and they are relatively, but choosing the right colours and applying the paint in such a way that it doesn't look shite is quite tricky. This is wet as hell. But it's quite, I would say it was enjoyable, therapeutic even, but it's not, because I do get a bit stressed trying to make it look presentable. I'll show you a couple more, maybe. Do you want to see some more? It's not live, obviously, but I thought I'd break the fourth wall and pretend that you're all watching me. Okay, here's another one. Well, that's quite nice. I quite like the colours on this one. So it's kind of teal with a bit of golden hue and a bit of red. Fucking love this camera. It's bollocks. But those colours really pop in real life. If only you could see it properly. I'll tell you what, let's show you all of them. Why not? Oh, this is just a kind of gradation of colour. And I thought this looked like either the surface of the sun or some kind of gas giant. So I may do a kind of space station hovering over the top of that. What do you think of that? Yeah? I don't know. It might be alright. This one here was an absolute ball ache to paint. Again, it's just the underpainting really of what I'll apply other stuff. But it's like a kind of geometric assortment of ribbons. You can see it's kind of relatively thick in places. I've used a palette knife to create those contours. There's something about that I like, but it's probably shite. Having a hell of a day today. Right, last one. Okay, this one is really wet. Look at that bastard. There's 3 flies stuck on this one. You're not going to be able to see them. And the whole bloody thing is wet. So I can't even touch the sides. So there you go. It's again kind of teal. You might be able to see some little specks there. Little bastard flies that have gone there. But anyway, I suppose they have a right to live as well. So there we are. There's today's episode. Okay then, let's leave it there. Thank you for watching if you have. If I know some of you have had some interest in some of these paintings, I'm not selling any of the ones that will be for the book, prospective book, yet. And so if you've previously told me you're interested in any of those paintings, I'm earmarking them for you. So they will be sold, I'll put them up for sale eventually. And when they do, you'll have first refusal for them. That's the best I can do at the moment. Other ones like these abstract ones, they will be on eBay before long. That space station one, things like that. If it's not related to the book, it will be for sale. And you might be quite pleased at how cheap it is. There you go. Right, let's leave it there. Hope you all have a nice weekend. We're heading to the coast for for this weekend. So I'm going to get my tits out and get them nice and brown. And I might show you the results on a future episode. Next episode, maybe some more book reviews. I've got a stack of books that I still haven't reviewed, but I read them a while ago, so they'll probably be really terribly reviewed, but at least it will be there. Right, I'm off to work. Can't fucking wait. Cheerio. And yeah, cheers.